Wookiee bartenders 20%, no droids, no bounty hunters, no Raylos, no Ray Nobodies. We are here to talk about Star Wars and be Star Wars fans, no trolls. I did want to address something that's been occurring lately. I have had at least 4 trolls in the last 4 days show up, not on recent videos. They usually go on to videos that were made, one was over a year ago, screaming the, hey, just some other guy, the greatness of Kathleen Kennedy. And screaming how Star Wars was misogynist. It wasn't, but okay. People like that are not allowed. Here's another example. I had 2, I'm pretty sure there. I've seen at least 1 on Midnight's Edge or WW Pro or VR's channel, VOTG something, screaming bloody murder at me on a video I did speculating that George may be buying Lucasfilm back. And dropping F-bombs and everything, so I nuked him. And somebody else on a different video of the same vein, I think, trying to call me a liar, I dropped a nuke on them too. Here's a lesson learned. Don't come here and comment if you're gonna do that, because your ears are gonna bleed from me dropping a nuke on you, and I will do that, okay? I got no problem at all with that. I tolerate no bullshit, and to me, trolling is immature, it's stupid, and I don't have time for it. So don't fucking come here and do that. Hey, Carlos. It's afternoon here. It's 1:18. So anyway, so it is too quiet. The only thing we've got coming from what we know is what Sparrow and Doomcock have been saying, and that's it. I mean, I don't really have anything else to go on. But when you hear it's quiet, that means there is something probably going on, and there's an awful lot of smoke. I suspect that the tabloids and the trades have been told to not say anything by Disney, and they're following orders. And there's a reason why. If you let's look at something. I'll be right back. Let's look at where Disney stock is, because you guys gotta remember, this being a business, Disney has a very hard time with keeping their stock up. So this thing is so dead. Anyway, let's find it. Diz shares. Under $90, 86.13. So they went up a little bit, then they went down. They're up 0.227 or 30.31 today. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But again, remember, Sci-Fi, you know what we were told about her contract. He can't just fire her for cause, because if he could, I think he would have fired her a long time ago. That's just my opinion there. Well, what you want is you want people, look, you know how you do intelligence gathering, and you know how you do reporting. You get a source, and then another source verifies what the first source says. than another source, and the stories might vary a little bit, but it's essentially the same story. That's what we're hearing from all of Doomcock's sources and Sparrow. So, and if Raven chimes in, and Mexican Iron Man has said that his friend who works is an executive at Disney said Lucasfilm is on fire. Everything they're doing is about Lucasfilm. Okay, so it looks to me that there may be a buyer, there may not be. I do expect to see George involved if he's not part of the buyout or whatever. And the reason why is because they need him. They need him to get her. They need him to help right the boat. Okay. Hey Mike, how you doing? Oh great, thank you. So that's what I think is actually happening right now. Is they're slowly but surely dismantling what she's done. Well, I don't, just some other guy, he doesn't have any sources. All right. He got into a fight with Pablo. He says he made up with Pablo and Pablo apologized. There's no public acknowledgement on Hidalgo's side. There might have been a message. All right. They might be private messaging. But as far as I know, there isn't any public acknowledgement. So I wouldn't believe him. And, well, all right, let's talk about the Karen McCarthy lawsuit. All the documents have been removed from the LA County Courthouse website. So you can't see what the latest filings were. And they have said when they talk about the acolyte, I mean, my favorite latest video. This is without looking at Companies House filing and the annual report for blue stocking. VR. If you go look at the annual report, they had there's $34 million. They spent $37 million, apparently. What they have, I think, in cash reserves is like, no, they're pounds. Okay, so we'll say $25 million. They spent $27 million. And their cash on hand is like maybe $4,000. Okay, well, I talked about the annual report 2 days ago. That was a BFD. Okay, that was a BFD. And the problem is that these guys, and I know why, because they're stupid, did something really dumb, and now they're afraid to talk about the lawsuit. Here's the deal. If they listed $34 million, whatever, let me look. Maybe, haha, I have that this thing actually caught up to my other. Did it? No, it didn't. Shit. It's hard to explain, but if you've ever read an annual report, I'm not impressed with what I read, because at the end you're like, this wasn't a fully funded anything. This wasn't anything. When you look at it, when my mom and dad bought shares in the H.G. Heilemann Brewing Company, when right before the shares split, that we got an annual report. We looked at it, and I've taken business classes, so I've seen them, and they're not that difficult to read. But when you look at this from Okay, here we go. All right, so let's look at, okay. All right, so period ending in 24 September 2022. They had turnover, a cost of 32,413,585 pounds. Cost of sales 37,987,587 pounds. That's about $25 million, $27 million. And gross loss of 5,574,002 pounds. So that's $3 million. Administrative expenses, this is going to make you laugh because the people that were working on this got paid shit. A total of 332,639 pounds. Loss before taxation, 5,906, 5,906,641 million pounds. Profit for the financial period, 8,856 pounds. Okay, so let's go to current assets, and again, start laughing. 7,678,546 pounds. Cash at bank and in hand, 8,434,612 pounds. Net current assets, 8,857 pounds. Capital and reserves, 8,856 pounds. Total equity, start laughing, 8,857. And the balance as of September 24th, 2022, when this was all this stuff with the millions of dollars, pounds. All right, remember, they only paid, I sent this to Mexican Iron Man, and he hasn't said anything about it. Thank you, Ira. But the balance I have on hand as of almost a year ago is 8,867 pounds, about $4,000, $5,000. Here's the deal. If they had 34 million pounds, $25 million, whatever that is, and this was in England sci-fi universe. Okay, this is their English annual report. Okay, and I don't even know if the Blue Stocking shell company even exists anymore here in the United States. I'd have to look, and I don't feel like doing it because they don't. Let's put it this way: California expects you to pay for that. I'm like, no, I'm not. Okay. Anyway, so they had what, 34 million pounds, $25 million, and when Karen McCarthy went to ask, can you pay me? Now I want you to put two and two together. Where'd the money come from? If Leslie Headland and the cabal could not figure out what to do, or the fact that they had allowed this outsider in and she wanted to be paid, She, they fucked up because I'm going to tell you something. She would never would have asked where the money came from. Never. She never would have asked if they just, given her the money and she went on her merry way. But they didn't. And now this is why this is happening. Okay. Now, who paid for the license for the corporation to keep on to not get dissolved? Wasn't Kennedy, even though she was in England. She was in England after this was paid. This was paid on June 19th. And she was in England after. This was before Indy 5 came out. In fact, she didn't show up in England till like a day or two before Indy 5 dropped here. So it wasn't her. It was likely Disney that did it. Okay, Disney's corporate officers just went, paid it. Now why? To preserve the records so they can do an audit themselves. Okay, why? Because again, look at Disney's issues. Okay, look at Disney's issues. They can't fire her for cause, which is like, what the fuck? I've never heard of anything like this in my life. I'm still having a hard time wrapping my pea-sized brain around it. They can't fire her for cause, but they can fire her for morals issues and I'm going to say this because Doomcock brought it up, so I'm going to run with it, smearing Disney's image, which can be linked to hiring Leslie Headland and everything else. Okay, and I am kind of like, okay, now this is all making kind of sense. This is how you do it. I know, Cross, but they did it. And today, when I read that article that I talked about in my upload, here's what I think. Kennedy, George trusted her. He trusted her. Did he have any health issues? No. As far as I know, Ichibaka's fantastic research showed that when Marion County did not approve of his expanding ILM and V8 and THX, etc., in Marion County and Lucasfilm itself, he said, they had a new baby coming, and he wanted to spend more time with his family. So, it was one of those things where he decided he needed to slow down. Now, if you remember, I told you that in Iger's book, Iger basically said, you're not making any movies. And, we've done our own, basically audit, looked at Lucasfilm, and it's not worth what you want us to pay for it. This is where the sequel trilogy, which actually, if you get into the history of all this, he never really wanted to make a sequel trilogy. He was very content to see the EU pick up where he left off, as long as they didn't disrespect Luke, Han, and Leia, and Lando. Okay, he didn't like Mara Jade. I'm gonna be honest with that. He didn't. I really don't either. I don't really think that character is kind of somebody people should it's just, whatever. Anyway, so George put these, script treatments together. It was what he thought it should look like, and it wasn't the EU. Sorry to tell you guys that. And Disney shit canned him, like he said. They shit canned his treatments. Kennedy was very happy to do that. Again, we're talking about a woman who harbors a lot of resentment. But, I've gone over her history quite a bit. She jumped in her car after seeing Close Encounters and drove like a mad woman to LA, couch surfed at her twin sister's apartment, and was introduced to John Milius, who hired her. Okay. And then he introduced her to Steven Spielberg because they were friend. They were friends. They'd been friends. Well, Peter, I don't think so. I don't think at the time she felt brave enough to do anything like that. I gotta remember who was in charge of like feature film creative stuff there, and it was Alan Horn, who is dumber than a box of rocks look. I'm gonna give you a suggestion, Peter. Watch The Offer, okay? Because when you start seeing executives talking about what people want to see, what they want to see, it's usually it's usually like a 180 from what the creative wants to make. And the difference between the creatives in right now at Lucasfilm, yeah, it was Iger and Horn. They were the only ones. Dave is right. And they were the ones that didn't want to see it because it was too deep in the lore. I mean, this is how they think, because this is how they think. Normies think. Normies don't give a fuck. They want to go see a good movie. Okay, they don't give a fuck. Maverick, Afterlife, even Barbie, which, Cameron says is great, and I have to go see it now, which I probably will next week. But I have yet to see The Sound of Freedom or Oppenheimer, and I'm dying because I love Christopher Nolan. Normies just want to go to a movie and have fun. They don't want to be lectured. And it's just got to be a good story. These two fucking idiots made a bad mistake, and no, Iger knows that now. I know he knows that now. Lucasfilm should be the one solid point at Disney. They had license to print money. If you want to do young Han Solo trilogy movies, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Go look at the books AC Crispin wrote, lift up some of the good stuff from there. Get someone who really loves the character, not a Kasdan, who has absolutely demonstrated they understand the character, to write it, okay? All right, they want to do the sequel trilogy? Go and look at the EU. Do not kill off Han Solo. Do not disrespect Luke Skywalker. Do not turn Leia into whatever the fuck that was. Fact of the matter is, hey Baz, how you doing? The fact of the matter is, the TFA was a shitty movie. Now, John Boyega has been recently quoted saying that he has nostalgic feelings for TFA. If you guys want to know who does like all does like all of the little video things and helps me put together my intros and outros, it's Baz Taylor. He's excellent. He's my techie dude. He's great at it. And I do want to, and I'm telling you right now, when we get the final, she's done. All right, I want to do a musical goodbye to Kennedy. okay? I don't want to be disappointed. I want to like rub her nose in it, like when your dog shits on the rug, you know. Um, anyway, where was I? So you could have done a Star Wars, uh, move the franchise along, like Kennedy promised she would, and didn't. Um, and it you would have been making money. Okay, now granted, if you wouldn't have followed the EU verbatim, because again, we have EU apologists out there that don't care if Crystal Star or Star Crystal, whatever that book was a shitty book. They don't care how stupid it was for Chewbacca to be killed. And then Anakin, Solo. Um, you know, you go, there were good stories. Honor Among Thieves is a great story. Tatooine Ghost. You could turn Tatooine Ghost into a one note. You could do it one series. Okay, you could do one series. All right. And it could be for one season, and you could do it, and it would be great. People would love it. It would get people into, I know he did sci-fi universes. You could really get people into the EU that way. You could do, you could go back and do prequel stuff because they wrote prequel stuff. They wrote, An Honor Among Thieves is a great one. They introduced a female character called Scarlet. Oh God, I can't think of her last name, but she was a kind of a scoundrel. She was kind of an underworld figure, but she was a spy for the rebellion, and they teamed her up with Han Solo, and she was a great character. Yeah, I think, just some other guys, right? You know, it would the EU is inconsistent because for every Tatooine ghost, there's a crystal star. For every Honor Among Thieves, there's God, what was that? Scoundrels, which I'm reading it going, what the actual F? Well, they are, that sci-fi universes, that's what they're doing. That's why they're bringing back, that's why they brought back Thrawn. So we have to just sit back and wait for what is going to happen next. Lucasfilm has been very quiet publicly. All right, very. It's very strange. And I find it odd. Ever since Indy 5 came out, they've been extremely quiet. The marketing for Ahsoka's been not a lot. Okay. Which is sad because that's going to be a great show. Well, I can't look at those people with any respect because they don't understand. Look. I'll give you an example. War and Remembrance, a great, fantastic historical novel written by Herman Wouk, who wrote The Caine Mutiny. Okay. Woke was one of those novelists that only comes around like once in a lifetime. And I don't think it has anything to do with them being broke, Mike. The book, War and Remembrance, is it's over 1,000 pages long. And it literally is it's a history of World War II, but seen through the fictional eyes of an American family, their Navy family, called The Henrys. Okay, so I think it was Dan Curtis who decided he wanted to put it out on TV, and it was a 2-week miniseries. They spent a lot of money and lost their asses on it, and he literally did it verbatim, and it didn't work. Okay, and that was a miniseries. And that was a miniseries. Now, War and Remembrance, because it was smaller, or The Winds of War, because it was smaller, actually lent itself better. And I'll give you another little bit of history. How many of you guys have heard of Lonesome Dove? Scarlet Hark, right, David. How many of you guys have heard of Lonesome Dove? Larry Mercury wrote it as a script, I think back in the 50s, for, get ready, John Wayne. Okay. And I can't remember who the other actor was going to be, Gregory Peck or maybe Jimmy Stewart or somebody. So it had been a film script. McMurtry then adapted it to be a novel. Okay. And it ended up being it was just too big. Just some other guys. You cannot, 99.9% of the time, I'm giving you actually, if you are listening, I'm going to give you the opposite of that. You cannot adapt word for word a novel. You just can't. And he wrote it in a novel. Okay. It went from being a film script to a novel to a miniseries. And literally, they used the film script, they used the novel, and made it into 5 episodes. And it was probably one of the greatest bits of television ever written. And it literally, I remember watching it and my dad being riveted, so I know I just said that, Peter. Okay, I just said that's what I'm talking about. In fact, you can do it sometimes, but a novel like War and Remembrance, you can't. It was over 1,000 pages long, and it's almost a complete history of World War II, and very much in depth about the Holocaust, about the Theresienstadt ghetto, and all right, I'm going to say Czechoslovakia. It was profoundly engrossing. Yeah, and I watched it. It was horrifying. I mean, look, World War II veterans were complaining that it was too graphic, and they complained about it. But my attitude is, they're showing us what it looked like. Okay, they're showing us what. No, it's not numbs the experience. That's not the point. It's too big. You've got a script, not a novel, and a script. As Cameron, it's a completely different discipline. Okay, it's a completely different discipline. I'll give you another example. There's a show that is on YouTube called, it's about Hermann Goering, and it's called Goering's Last Stand, I think. And it was made by a Brit, and it's about, yeah, I mean, Carlos, that's exactly right, Carlos. So it comes up to the decision of the director and the writer and the producers. What do they want to make look like? What do they want the focus to be on? And that's, going to upset some fans, and it's going to make other fans happy. Okay. So, all right, where was I? So if you watch the show, Goering's Last Stand, it's about the Nuremberg. It's about the Nuremberg Heitara trials. And Hermann Goering was one of the deputy Reichs chancellors of Nazi Germany, and it's about how he, fucked around with the American colonel who was basically his jailer, and the guy died on his deathbed from cancer, just still being haunted by it. And what happened is, the history is, Goering showed up with about 72 boxes or pieces of luggage, blush on his face, his fingernails painted. He looked like a madam in a whorehouse. And he smelled like one too, from what the American soldiers said. And he turned himself in. And he thought, if he thought when he was captured or he gave himself up, that he would be treated like the leader of Germany. No, he wasn't. He was a war criminal. Okay. And he was put into prison. He was put in a jail cell. One of the other prisoners, German prisoners, actually did hang himself. He sat on his toilet, and the toilet had a bar above it. He took I don't know, a blanket or something wrapped around his neck and kind of just laid there till he died. And they finally had to make it so, in order not to lose those guys before the trial even started, that they would literally have a soldier looking at them the entire time they're in their cells. So you could be taking a shower or taking a dump and there'd be a guy watching you. Okay. Goering knew that. Goering had a lot of his boxes, and he made friends with some of the German, some of the American soldiers, the MPs, and eventually he got some of his so-called medicinal creams he put on his face. And inside one of them was a little glass pill full of poison. And he found out from the German doctor that was taking care of them that that they were going to be executed because they were turning the prison jail gym into basically putting a hanging scaffold up. Anyway, and the show is like the cat and mouse game between Goering and the colonel, and Goering got the last laugh. When you see pictures of him dead, he's got one eye wide open and he's winking. It's like he's winking. And it's a really good show. And when you look at the notes, the court notes from Nuremberg, like I have, you'll see that it's accurate. Okay, you can do that if you do a docudrama, but like Peter Jackson said, if you took War and Remembrance and filmed like they did every moment of the book, it was a 22-hour miniseries or longer. Okay, can't do that. Just like you couldn't do The Lord of the Rings. Okay, like that. So when you take like even Heir to the Empire, I mean, there are things that should be in it. There are things that should not be in it. Okay, characters can be changed. Like, I think Mara Jade should be one of Luke's proteges, not because I agree with George. Luke shouldn't be married. But it's not difficult when you start thinking and you look at all the mistakes that were made, how easy it would have been to print money for Star Wars if they'd have done it right. And they were in a hurry. Okay, they were in a hurry. They wanted to capitalize on their new investment, and they fucked it up. I mean, look, Would you rather go to a Star Wars hotel and hang out with Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Leia, and other Jedi? You could do like 1 weekend a month, do the prequels, or like a few days a week you could do the prequels, and another few days a week you could do the OT. Fine. Have the Mandalorian show up, you know, and or do that at the park, like at Galaxy's Edge. Everything they did was everything they did that they thought was going to be great turned out bad. Okay, this is where Star Wars had a problem. And it's all because when they finally got their hands on it, the executives at Disney, Iger and Horn, said it's too deep in the lore. We don't get it. Just like The Offer. Okay. Just like Anthony Lapidus. I don't understand it. You know, okay. So there you go. But what I think is going on is that Disney's trying to keep it quiet. And like I said, let's see what 8603. That's not good. Okay, that's the shares. So this is why they're not making it out there. They're not putting this out there. Is because they're afraid of their stock price going down. Okay, Iger wants it quiet. Okay, which is fine. My complaint is you give the fans something to think about. If you said Kathleen Kennedy is on authorized leave, and Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are acting president and vice president of Lucasfilm right now, there you go. Okay, that's all you have to say. Then the fans know Kennedy is out and she's not coming back. Okay, I would think that too, but I'm not. I would look. They have to do something. Okay, and I'm hoping that maybe Cameron's watching. I don't know that Disney's watching. If anybody in Iger's office, anybody that is hanging out with the Five Horsemen are watching, you really need to inform the fans on something. Okay. Well, from what, again, Peter, from what Mexican Iron Man has said, Lucasfilm is what they're concentrating on. And I think the reason why is because of the illegal activity. And there you go. Yeah, and I really think that's what they should be doing. I think leaving this quiet gives her an opportunity to fuck with people. Maybe not the shows directly, but to fuck with people in the fandom, which she's got Jason Ward for that, which is why Pablo Hidalgo is running around. Do I think that Pablo is still talking to Pro? No. Pro can say he apologized, but I don't think that line of communication is open anymore. Pablo was pretty publicly convincing with his fuck you to him. Okay, because I remember that. I laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. And they got, well, yeah, he got what he wanted. And that happened, by the way, when they were tamping down on the leaks. Okay, so probably there's a good reason. I mean, look, Pablo comments on everything. He doesn't know anything about business, but if he felt like it was a way to get Kennedy's opinion out there and to fuck with Iger, he would put it out there. Now, you know, Pro can sit there and say he hates Kathleen Kennedy, but he's doing her bidding without even knowing he is. Because no one wants the Acolyte. No one does. And no one wants a Ray movie. No one does. And they all know that, by the way. Okay? It's, obvious. Anyway, I got 2 hours before I've got to be ready for drinks with Dee Dee, so I've got to go because I got to rest my voice and power up my phone again. You guys, yes, he grabbed his tank and is astonished it bit him. And I do think he's lying. Yes, and and he doesn't. I mean, look, a lot of people are going to have a big, sad awakening when it turns out Pro didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. Okay, that's just what's going to happen. I am really, really, really upset with Tom. And, look, you don't treat people who've been loyal friends like that. Okay? You don't. And I feel like I should say something privately to him. Maybe I will. Anyway, I gotta go. You guys have a good afternoon. And, hopefully we'll get something in public soon. This is Steph signing out. See you around the galaxy.